So here's our newest project. What we have is we have a Stanley 500 watt inverter. I suspect it's over 10 years old, I'm not sure. And myself and a friend have done some voltage checks, and from what we can tell, it is getting voltage from the source, which is actually the chassis. But that green flasher indicates it's not getting anything. And it really doesn't matter what we do to it, it will not stay flashing. So case in point, I went and retrieved the vehicle. It was ice cold in here, probably 35, maybe 40 degrees, with solar warmth from the windshields at the RV storage place. And the end result is that, well, it was a solid green there, but now it is not a solid green again. And so I'm going to replace this, and so I'm going to have to I'm going to replace this. I already have another 500 watt inverter. It's a little physically smaller. It's unfortunately from China, but most of these inverters are. And so we're going to have to take this one off, disconnect it, and then connect a new one and hope that we don't get the same problem. So I'm going to move over here. So we have positive on the top, negative on the bottom, and I'm unsure as to how universal the mounting holes are compared to the other ones. So we're going to have to take the mounts off also and determine how it's mounted in. So we're also going to have to take this off the doghouse, or at least take the drawers out. And Bounder does a fairly nice job with these. The drawers come out. Oops, took the wrong one out first. So I got some random things in this one. I'm going to put it on the table over here behind me, and virtually nothing in here. And so if you're wondering how Bounder does this attachment to the doghouse, and I got a little shadow because of the lamp, you can see that's done with 2 thumb screws. And those screws, you want to be careful with those screws, because there's a little metal bracket that barely holds on to the screw. My left one's pretty loose, the right one's okay, and that keeps those screws from falling through the doghouse into the engine. So as it stands right now, I'm just going to look over here, and it looks like the previous installer. Let me see if I can get some light in there. Yeah, there's no washers through the wood on this. They're just self-tapping wood screws. Let's see if I can get that in there. This isn't going to be a great video. Yeah, they're just self-tapping wood screws. So probably a pretty simple disassembly, and maybe a little bit more work to put it all back together again. But there's quite a bit of space between the drawer sides and the cabinet, so we've got some mounting area, and maybe the screws will match up okay, and if they won't, that's okay, because those should just screw through. And if I'm gentle enough with it, if I'm gentle enough with the screws, it'll create new holes, and they should screw in tight. Otherwise, I might have to be going to Lowe's to get different, Lowe's or Home Depot to get different hardware. All right, I will be back with the disassembly. This particular unit does fire up. We got a good pilot, and I actually have cut all the battery switches, so the dash is hot, and this means that we probably just had a bad unit here. So with the pilot light good, and we're not pulling any power through here. Now point I have is to get this off and get this mounted. And I'm definitely going to mount the front too. I'm going to leave the wires connected for the moment, and then I'm going to connect one in the back and then pull down one of the contacts in the back to have clearance to do the last wire. Smaller unit. This is plastic. I don't like the plastic as well as I like the metallic unit. What I dislike though is that this is, and I've said it before, I really am kind of tired of buying electronics from China. But this was a good price, and I could not actually find a Stanley, at least not conveniently available in the supply chain right now. And so I went with what was available so that I could have this in place, and so that I could ensure that I wasn't dealing with a problem with of the wiring or how this is wired up. So I'm going to turn that off so the pilot goes out, and I'm going to bring the batteries, the house and the coach batteries, back on. Okay, house and coach batteries are back on. Now let's see what it does now. Pilot's still good. Okay, so I'm going to start the generator so we can get some heat in here. All right, there's the generator. Okay, and once the transfer switch kicks in, we'll have both of the overhead heats going, and then I'll start working on this. So in a moment you'll see me again. There we go, transfer switch kicked over, and so in a moment you'll see me again pulling this off and figuring out how we're going to mount up this new unit. Alright, so I got my trusty yeah, that doesn't have a lot of resistance on it. Boy, that's a long screw. I have my trusty Harbor Freight screwdriver that I bought a number of years ago. I'm not sure why I bought this. I mean, I don't really need those spacers, but I do want to pick them up. Those spacers are unique to this particular older unit, and these are just going to slide right out. Same basic structure. You have it's very lightweight compared to the one I'm replacing. Very lightweight. Odd that they would do this. Odd that they would have this gap here and that you would be forced to use some sort of spacer to fit it in. Not real great design. Very lightweight compared to the one I'm replacing. Very surprised at how lightweight this is. I gotta check in with somebody. I'll be right back. Well, let's talk about placement. So, the two screw holes for this particular unit are narrower than the screw holes on the old Stanley. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this, slide it into the back screw hole. I'm going to remove this lower one, slide it into the back one, and then I'm going to have to have it somewhat level. I might have to go get a pin and mark where the hole is. Now where I'm working right now isn't level. The vehicle isn't level, and yeah, I could throw my jacks out and try to level myself up, but even then I wouldn't get level. So I'm going to eyeball this level. This screw hole here would be approximately where I'd want to go straight across to mount this. And just want to make sure pilot light's still good. So contacts are still tight and good. I think we still have a winner here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this screw. I'm going to salvage these screws. move in from this point here to rescrew this from the top stud, and then I'll eyeball it for the bottom screw points. So, more when I return. All right, so it occurred to me, so I've got these screws off. So here's one of the things I've noticed. One, the rear screws are this shorter self-tapping screw, and I have no idea if this is a legitimate wood screw or if this is a metal self-tap. But this is the screw at the rear. The screws at the front are meant to have that grommet, that spacer for the Stanley. So ultimately the length of the screw when it's in the body is about the same. I'm going to have to abandon the long screws if I'm reusing parts, and I'm only going to be able to use these shorter screws. So with the rear screw in place, I'm at a point where all I need to do is mark where I want the new one to be. Okay. With that mark, I'll make a pilot, and with that pilot, I'll then put in one of these wood screws. I don't want to do it without piloting it. And then what I will do is I will go find smaller screws to do more security. In reality, as long as these screws stay tight, I really only need 2 screws, since one I'm not removing, and I'll give it a little bit of a torque, but I don't want to strip them out, and this one I'm sticking in here. So all I need to do is find another one of these. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little photograph of this, and then probably a trip out to Lowe's tomorrow for some supplies. So we're back, and I've got a 3/32 drill bit on this, and just to make sure I've got this where I want, I'm just going to gently hang this up on that. And I had a pencil mark roughly there. Okay, I'm just going to make a very, very small pilot. There we go. So there's our new pilot, and I'll have to get those ironed out. All right. Now, to change bits, back to a screwdriver bit. Screwdriver bit. So, part of me thinks I should do this the hardware. I am not sure. Be able to get this in here with just a regular bit, or if I'm going to have to do a manual driver. The biggest problem is I'm not sure how to prop that up. Let's see if this will do. That'll help a little. Not much. Screw that in. here and do it right. I need a longer shaft on that. Alright, with a longer shaft in place, I think I should be able to again put this up, find my pilot, find my screw, and that's not lined up yet. There's it. Yeah. There we go. Alright, so this wood, and there is wood underneath it. There's wood underneath it. You know, honestly, that's not going anywhere. So I know I'm in the shot. So the only thing that would balance that out, make that better, is to get another one of those self-tapping wood screws, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. So let's just do a quickie test of our inverter and see how she does. I'm going to do a quick test of the inverter. So I have the charger for my inexpensive drill, and here we have the battery. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the inverter. So we've got a good pilot light. I'm going to plug this wire in, and it's polarized. And I've got power here. I've got a green light there. And I don't know how many watts I'm going to pull. 120 volts AC, 60 hertz. Yeah, this isn't my strong suit. It's an 18 volt charger. So we got power on that. And Albi works like a charm. Okay, a couple USB outlets. We're going to try those next. So my next experiment is going to be, I'm going to take this charger off. To put it away. So the next experiment is going to be, now there are USB ports on this. The next experiment is going to be a 110 to USB Lightning. Because I'm a Mac guy, Apple guy. So I'm going to plug this in here. Okay, so far so good. And then I'm going to plug it into my phone. And the answer is yes, it charges. Charging right now. Perfect. But we don't have to run it like that. And we probably shouldn't if we don't need to. So we're going to take off the AC adapter. We're going to plug this USB into one of these two USB ports. Nice and snug, real smooth. And plug it into the phone. And we're charging. So now we've got two USB power points up here up front. One last experiment is going to be what happens to the USB power when we turn it off. We still have USB power even with the unit off. I'm going to unplug. Put that there. I'm going to put this over here. Plug it in again. Yeah, we even have USB power with it off. So it's a 12 volt power port even with it off. How nice. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it off, and we're going to bundle up all of our work, and I will come back and add a couple more screws, just secure it, because you know we're going to be bouncing down the road. So I'm going to need 2 more of those self-tapping screws, and we'll be in business. And then I'll probably get a little putty, probably talk with my dad, get a little putty, and secure and sand these down a little bit, putty them in so they're not as ugly. But that's pretty straightforward. I like that. So once again, thanks for watching. Glad to have you around to see these little things that we're doing to an old RV that's basically solid. Solid rig, not too big a deal, but we're just gonna have a little fun, spruce it up, make it good for this next year. And I hope you learned how easy this could be, because certainly I'm not a mechanic. Have a great one.